Hello, and welcome to this episode 59 of the Northern Invasion podcast. We're joined by myself, Stu West, and Mr. Liam Watt.
Hello.
Hello there. Hopefully the video will work. If it does, we'll even fire it onto the YouTubes for everybody to sit and look at while they're painting. We have also got the chicken dog. Now, I can't see myself, so I might not even be here. So, there we go. She's got bad hair. But there you go. So, it's midway. Well, it's not midway between Christmas and New Year. It's like the day before New Year's Eve.
The New Year's Eve.
It's the eve of New Year's Eve. So, Happy New Year to people. Have you? What did you get anything hobby related for Christmas?
Money. That's kind of the. Normally, that's what I like. Me and my partner, we just focused on being our daughter's first birthday, our first Christmas. Sorry, that it'd be obviously about her. So obviously, we've just then, when we got paid, just taken our budget and picking and choosing what we're buying.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, just money. I've got like a pot of money that I'm just picking away at, sort of thing, of just buying things here and there. Obviously, for this new league we've joined, I've splurged into a complete new army. This will be interesting
because I have no idea what it is. So we'll chat on that in a minute. Yeah, I didn't get a massive. Well, I didn't get any, but my kids are of an age now where they get hobby for Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, for the boy, he got. Have you seen Rumble Slam?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So he got Rumble Slam. So that's me painting up an orc team and the human team for that. He got Luke Cage and Iron Fist for Crisis Protocol. He's stuck in, which is nice. And the bigger child, she got Loki and Hela. So there's a few little new things for me to paint there. I finished Daredevil this week. Started and finished him this week, and I've got Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Ronan all built and primed. So yeah.
How did you find Iron Fist to build? I didn't. That wasn't enjoyable for me.
No, it wasn't great. I wanted to find a way where I could just cut that silly dragon off and stick a fist on him, but I built it because it's the boys. I thought I better not start hacking it up, or else he'll get the ump. So yeah, it was a bit of a funny one to get balanced, but
it's just too thin at the bottom.
Yeah,
I think it'd have been better if he was uppercutting, sort of more than a.
And we should talk more. We should do dedicated Crisis Protocol hobby chats and chats. That'll be good. We'll get Grant on. But aside from that, in terms of Sigmar, this week I've painted my Marsh Crawler Slogoth. I had used it a couple of times at one of your Little Aberdeen events, also on one battle report. But I'm using it on this week's battle report, and I got a bit of abuse off Eric last time for using what he deemed an unpainted model, so I painted that. And I've just got the Breaker Boss to do. So I've got him out on my table. I'll get him finished tomorrow probably. So that'll be my festive hobby done. But yeah, that's that. I got Lego. I got Old Trafford in Lego. So
that's cool.
That's
how much pieces was that one?
It's 4,000.
Jeez.
It's absolutely. I've got it. I'm looking at it now. I'm not going to try and bring it over because that'll make bad telly. But yeah, it's big. So that's going to take me a while. I've got the boy Moss Eisley for his birth. It's his birthday on Monday.
Yeah.
So there was a big sale on. It's great him just having his birthday just after Christmas because you get stuff really cheap. So yeah.
Have you seen then Spider-Man yet, or is that this week?
Tomorrow. I'm taking him tomorrow. It comes on and after them tomorrow on New Year's Eve. So
that's good.
We're booked.
You finish Hawkeye? Did you enjoy?
Yeah, finished Hawkeye. I really
very
enjoyed
good. That was
a. Yeah. So no, I'm loving it. I'm looking forward to that, and then Multiverse and Book of Boba as well. So all the geeky stuff. It's been great for TV. It's like I've got The Expanse there to watch. The last season of that. I've got The Witcher. I have got the new DC Titans, which I quite enjoyed the first two series of. There was Hawkeye. There's a few things on. There's some really good telly this year.
We watched Ron's Gone Wrong. It's a new film that was on Disney.
Oh, yeah.
It's really enjoyable. I think your kids would like it. It is really good.
Yeah, that's on
tomorrow. I found it fun. And then Book of Fett as well. That's
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, no, it's been a good year for it. Well, yeah. Anyway, there you go. That's Christmas, New Year. So I have to say to you as well, congratulations, because you won Northern Invasion 21.
Thank you.
We've not done anything since before that. So you were the recipient of the Badge of Shame.
I was.
First time ever we've had a Badge of Shame recipient win the event. So well done. So
good to play them both.
Yeah. So what was your list for those that didn't listen to the last one?
It was Teclis. I was in Iliatha, which allows 2 Venari units when one is selected for a command ability, the other one gets to use it at the same time or after completely for free. And then I had a Kaflar as my general. She had a War Master as a command trait, which at the start of my hero phase she gets a 4+, she gets a command point. Then she had the item that when she dies on a 4-up, she comes back full health. 10 Wardens, 30 Sentinels, 20 Sentinels, and Emerald Life Swarm in a battle regiment.
Yeah.
It was good. It was a solid list. I think even now, talking after the FAQs, I still think it's in a comfortable place. Like everyone's talking the Unleash Hell's getting worse and things like that, but I think it would just alter how I play the list rather than coming away from it. I'd obviously have to drop 10 Sentinels by the points increases, but that would also then allow me to have a combat unit, I think. I'd be able to up my Wardens if I then dropped. Again, I had Portal on the list, and I very rarely used it other than for like a Lambent Light or getting the Darkness spell out from the Kaflar to do the Leadership Bellicor effect on units, which was quite again, the list was comfortable. There was only, not to detriment the opponents that I had, there was only one game that I felt that it could have got away from, and that was obviously DJ Way's Night Haunt, just because it's still quite it's a list that gets a lot of units in it, and I can only target so much if he stays half off the table, which he did. I won on that and pushed to kill his general turn 1, just to stop him having that free teleport about the board and the control that he lost from that. But he gave me a hard game. That was like a turn 5 victory on that one. I do think with the change of points, I do think its damage output does drop a fair bit by just even losing 10 Sentinels, because actually that is, if your opponent charges you, that's a lot of shots you'll lose over a game. I find. But yeah, it was really enjoyable army. Is that I enjoyed the hobby side of it more than I would say playing it. I was hoping, as harsh as that sounds, I was hoping for fast games because it was just going to shoot people off. But it actually doesn't. It has consistent damage every turn, taking a unit at a time, but it doesn't have it's not an alpha strike like what some armies in the past have been able to do, where you would literally cripple your opponent turn 1 and things like that. I don't think there's much of that in the game anymore.
No.
Outside Stormcast. Even KO. Certain armies can't cope with a KO alpha if you... Yeah. Or the new Kragnos meta that we're going to walk into. He seems to be the beefy boy.
Seems to be a few people buying him for sure.
That's good. Get the sales up on him and then chuck his points up 200 and he'll never get played again.
No, it's... So, because we had Storm Arwen that weekend, you were set on game 4 to play against your local opponent, John Bayless, weren't you?
Yeah.
He had to go and, I don't know, do manly things at a house.
Yeah. Collect wood and burn fires.
Confident against how you'd have performed against Seraphon?
I think me and John, it's a favourable matchup for me because I outrange him so much.
Yeah.
And being a 1-drop. I think that is still unfortunate the way the game is because of Battle Regiment. It is still quite a game of if I can get the best list in a 1-drop, if I'm one of the factions that can do that, I have a straight advantage because I can either make you take turn 1 because you can't reach me, or I take turn 1 and cripple quite a lot of your units, because he's quite a low bravery army as well. I can do quite a lot turn 1 against him.
Yeah, I thought you would have done all right. So yeah, Arwen, if I can work out how to do it, I'll put a little picture up, because Arwen's Lumineth are getting painted at the moment, and she's gone nearly after as well. She chose that.
Yeah.
As it looks a pretty fun list. I'd not really thought about it until reading the book recently, but we've basically got some people in the community have been really good, and they've donated Dawn Riders to her because that's what I wanted to do. So I know Mark Roberts won a box down at Aberdeen, and he gifted it across for her to have a first army. So her list is 2 10s of Dawn Riders and 2 5s, and then a 20 and 2 10s of Wardens, the Light of Eltharion, a Cathalar, and that Antelope guy. And a Horrorghast, a Life Swarm, and Cogs, I think. I'm not too sure. But yeah, the way hers works, it's pretty nasty, because that Cathalar does that horrible thing about you throw
damage control. Yeah, you throw your battle shock to your opponent.
You throw your battle shock to your opponent, and if you've got the Horrorghast out there, then they can't use
the battle shock.
And
you also
D3
have a spell in Lumineth, which means you can't be targeted by command abilities.
Okay.
As well, in one of the lores, that it says you can't receive or use command abilities, which then means that, again, that's another unit, because then that allows your split. Obviously, the Cathalar only targets 1 unit, but if you're...
Yeah, it's
such a good model. I still think that's still one of the best.
And she didn't like the actual model for it, so she's used an old Spellsinger. So yeah, she's looking forward to it. I think it'll be pretty tough. I'm looking forward to playing it myself. I think it's fast. People won't expect it.
Its only downside, and as we know it is, would be coherency. I think that's only the downside of these armies that have, like, as we talked with yourself about the OBR, having big 10-man units, Death Riders would be awesome. But when you all of a sudden have to finagle to get that shape where everyone's in an inch, but then you only get you get 8 in comfortably, but
you have to go with the wedge formation.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Go with the big wedges, old Bretonian lances, and and then they all run to battle shock. But it's not too bad. We'll see. We'll see. I am looking forward to giving it a go. Actually, it seems quite a fun army. And there's no sentinels in there and no foxes. I think there's some game in there.
I think there is game in that book without sentinels and foxes. I think the issue is the other books that exist that force you to play the book that way. They definitely, I feel that you're forced to go that sort of direction with most of those armies where, like you say, if Daughters of Cain didn't have bow snakes access to, or cities didn't have their own really good shooting units or stormcasts, then you wouldn't have to have this fight of who has the best shooting phase. Because I think if you're winning the war in the shooting phase, you're normally winning the war quite often of control of the game. Because if you can comfortably remove a key piece or 400 or 500 points of someone's army, that their entire army works around, is quite a lot on turn 1.
Do you think that just adds another sort of block of strength to the Ideneth as well, with their inbuilt tech to sort of counter shooting?
I don't honestly think that works anymore, because there's so much armies that can also like Lumineth. My list, I could pick up a unit and drop it 9 inches away. Daughters of Cain can do the same thing. Stormcasts can do the same thing. Cities can come on board edges.
Yeah.
Like all the armies that have the problem shooting units have a way of, I'll pick up this unit that only moves 5 to 8 inches. I'll drop it 9 inches away from you. So I can also pick off your support heroes at the back of the table, or take off your key unit. My shooting unit kills your shooting unit. You have no tech left because you've spent, like you said, a quarter of your points in a shooting unit.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see how things go. I think, well, we'll see what the shift is. KO feel like one of the weakest shooting armies at the moment. I don't know why. I think I was so used to the old re-rolling ones for certain War Scroll battalions, and then the try and either re-roll hits or wounds from the Aether Gold, that they just seem to have been really neutered.
Yeah, because it's also units at 10 plus, is it, that those kick in, which is a shame. For the Aether Gold effects, it's 10 or more models, I think, on the Aether Gold effects, which means a quarter of, like 60% of the book isn't even touched by that, because the only units that go above are Thunderers and Arcanauts, because everything else is not 10 models.
No.
Which is a shame. It should maybe be Sky Vessel or infantry unit of 6 or more. Is that better? Because then that means that a unit of 6 Sky Wardens could be affected.
Yeah.
A unit of 6 Engine Riggers could be affected. Or do they get an effect where they count as 2 models for Aether effects? So then obviously they'd be...
Yeah, I mean, I play Barak Urbaz, so you get the extra D3. And you don't have to... You can give those to people who don't... You can either give them additional ones, or you can give them to people, I think, that don't qualify under the normal rules.
Okay.
And you can kind of sneak a few in, which is quite useful.
You shouldn't have to play that way. You shouldn't have to criteria yourself to a Skyport or things like that. I think that's where 3rd edition's weird, because we've gotten these new books. As you've played one of the newer books, Maggotkin. How do you feel?
Yeah, maybe have a chat on that in a few minutes if you want. I think it's good. It's good. There's definitely some... It feels like Nurgle should feel. You know, very different to what they were. And they're slow. They don't dish a lot, but they're so resilient. And that I really like the disease mechanic. I've got a couple of questions for you on it, because we've got 3 things that the feedback we've got from our battle reports on 3 things that are a bit ambiguous, probably need an FAQ, just to see what your thoughts are on those. We'll come to that in a few minutes maybe. But yeah, I thought Nurgle's a really good book. There seems to be a lot of options there. It's like Gravelords. I really like the Gravelords book. I think it's one of the books in a long time. You can play the army so many different ways. There's so many different types of army you can get out of it.
Yeah.
I think they've done really well with it. I've not really taken much notice of Cruel Boys or Stormcast, apart from the Sloggoth, because the Sloggoth's just so good. It's just slots so well into any destruction army, really. I don't know what you thought is. Do you think there's in the bat rep we've got this week, I've got it as an ally in a More Tribes army, whereas a couple of people have said that's not possible. But it has the Troggoth keyword. So I see that as being fine, because they can ally with Troggoths. So
I would have to check the General's Handbook.
I can't remember. Well, it used to be that they could ally with Troggoths. I don't know whether they've just switched it now so that they ally with
Spike Gits instead.
Yeah, the app says it's fine, so surely it's right.
That's the problem. I think that's like you say. Do you live and die by the app saying that something's allowed? Because you should. It's a format that they are saying the game is played. It's been out long enough now that they should be able to fix these things or know when the data is, because its example would be the new Nagash scroll, where it says one of his abilities and it just repeats the sentence of that he's the Supreme Lord of Death, which is quite enjoyable.
It is, yeah. No, it's it needs a little bit of tweaking. There's certain things in there that, like Gits, because I've got this Trogs army. If you have your Trog boss as the general, it says that you can only take the universal artifacts. None of the Troggoth ones come through. So there are a few things that, but I suppose at the moment it's free. So hopefully they'll iron out these things before they start making it that you pay for it. You know.
Or again, do they ever go down that line? Do they really need to? They make them bank anyway, don't they? Like, GW have no problem with making money.
No.
It matters if they want to make more money, isn't it? I think that's always the...
I really like having the codes in the books so that you unlock the content automatically in the app. I think that was well needed. So it's quite nice.
I just wish they would go to a digital format permanently. I would prefer the rules and points not to be in the books. You do the War Scroll cards, which is like £15-20, and then you do the digital book, which is then just the gaming stuff.
Yeah.
The books you buy for like £20 and they're just the lore, the artwork, remember they used to do the how to paint heraldry and things and paste space marines. That section, 20 pages at the back of that book could then be that sort of stuff for them, all the armor painter stuff and things. Or I remember in some of the older like codexes, like this when it was codexes obviously, was you would have that like 2 or 3 pages of, well, here's how we made scenery for this army.
Yeah.
Or how we made themed boards and how we converted this model with these bits to make the Grand Marshal instead of a normal captain and things like that. I do think they sometimes lose out on that sort of stuff because the hobby, I don't even think the White Dwarf do it anymore. The hobby stuff that, like,
I stopped buying it, mate. White Dwarf. It was just like a sales pamphlet after a while. It just seemed to be, you were just reading through sales pitches for what was coming out next. It didn't seem the kind of content I used to really like.
I like their old format where it would come out at the start of the month and it would tell you in the book, here's all the new stuff coming this month. Mm-hmm. Here's the dates to pre-order them. But then in this entire issue, we're going to play with all the new stuff, or they did the Tale of Four Gamers. Their Tale of Four Gamers used to be a lot better than it is now, where they would proper go into detail of what they bought, what they're playing, why they chose it, not just for either theme or things like that. They actually went, this is the smartest choice, not just playable wise, but to then for next month I'm going to be able to slot this in, sort of thing, rather than just going, I'll paint this scout because the scouts was the kit that I had available on my desk. Sort of.
Yeah. I used to love that, the Tale of Four Gamers thing, and it used to really be quite inspiring and make you want to go and do it. And it's really
cool. Well, Matt that does obviously the channel now with Louise doing the painting. That's what I remember him doing. Yeah. He was in them doing his Space Marines as Ultramarines, I think, as always he did. Mm-hmm. Like you say, it would last 6 months of the year. So I think it normally start October and it would go into the new year. Mm-hmm. And then it's what they would do is you'd go back to them when the new edition or the new book came out and they goes, oh, this is what I added to the army, sort of thing, rather than like you could follow it along, sort of thing, rather than it's a bit too fast now. I think that sort of side, like a lot of like league stuff or things like that, you just go straight from 0 to 100 and
no, it'd have been really good to do like a monthly video, like for us, for a Northern Invasion Tale of Four Gamers. Get to play then though, because we're so remote from each other. It's not good to get our monthly game against each other, but I suppose you could play locally against local opponents with it, and then talk through amongst ourselves and give you.
You kind of did a Path to Glory, didn't you? So I think that's kind of what they tried, rather than writing a list and doing your models that way. They kind of went down the Path to Glory was the way they wanted it to.
I really like the new Path to Glory. We've been doing it. We're doing that at the moment. I think we're on round 3 or round 4. Really good fun. I do like how I like the Gravelords one. I wish that was out, the one that was in the recent White Dwarf. The first White Dwarf I've bought in ages, but the way that if you use, you don't take summonable ones on your roster, but for every hero you've got, you get to take a free summonable unit.
Okay, that's cool.
After Glory, it's really good. I would have liked to have took that. So there we go. So first of all, I suppose, before we talk about Nurgle then, we have just had an FAQ as well. You touched on the points. Points have changed a little bit, maybe not enough. Some people. Well,
I would have actually, rather than touching the stuff at the top as well, I would have just, see like that Slanesh bit, that should have been about a page itself.
Yeah.
Just drop it by 20%.
Yeah.
Or 10%. Maybe not 20, maybe 20 is too high. Or you leave the summonable stuff a bit higher, because is that the problem, is the stuff that gets summoned. Like a lot of their stuff's just, you talk about that example, Blissbarb Archers are 170, Sentinels are 170, and Iron Drakes are 170.
Yeah.
We know which ones they are not the play. Again, is it because they see Blissbarb Archers doing something in an army that summons? And this is the thing I've always talked about, is do you take something away from being free again and make it cost? Because does that mean then armies, like even what you like said Nurgle there, does that bring some units down even 5% so that they're not over costed? Like certain factions, something will always be better than others. Like that's just the way the rotation of books were. Like I say, they looked at the Slaanesh book 2 years ago. 2 years later, it comes out. It's not relative anymore.
No.
Was folk could say Slaanesh? Everyone thought the Slaanesh book points were high when it first came out, and they were like, it must be a 3.0 book. But then when 3.0 came out, they just increased their points further, which then everyone was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Or is it again because? But then you can't say that the points that they are fair in comparison to, like, example, their alternative Daughters of Cain. They're not even in the same league of a playability army. But the Slaanesh now have a lot more units, while Daughters of Cain are still quite limited, and that's where the points become a thing. Is it points don't fix the problems sometimes that the issues are? You shouldn't have mortal wound shooting. We all have that argument. Mortal wound shooting shouldn't be a thing. Hero phase shooting is also should not be a thing. You shouldn't be able to do things out of sequence.
Hard to point those units if you've got something in the army that allows that. Like Stormcast, it's only one of the chambers that allows you to shoot in the shooting phase. Should everybody be penalised about that?
Oh no, you mean the hero phase one? That's not.
I mean, sorry.
No, that's just a grand command trait. That's just a command ability. Yeah, you get used once per game. You don't even have to be anything stupid.
Ambles, was that what it was?
It used to be Ambles a Hidden Hammer. That's what that used to do.
Oh, but yeah, that shows you I've just got I've not even opened it. It's still in the cellophane myself.
Yeah, mine's still in the cellophane. It's but it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to anymore. That's why, example, with the Nurgle book, I was sad that they didn't get general command traits that were once per game like these. Is that what you made the wheel instead? As we've obviously talked quite privately about our thoughts on the Nurgle. Does it feel like they missed the ball in some places? But yeah, points wise, a lot of folk. I think I've seen a lot of grumbles that Nagash is overpointed. Yeah. I think Nagash is in a really awkward rules as written stage to rules as intended.
I think he's all right. I've only used him twice since he's got his new scroll, and granted, he don't get the death save anymore.
It's not. It's mortal wounds that are killing him, and he has a 4-up.
Yeah, he has a 4-up on that. He knows all the spells now. I really like that he knows the FAQ and the Nighthawk. That opens up all new levels of experience and fun, especially for those armies that really need it. It's given them a little bit of a leg up and some new options.
I think he's quite comfortable. Like he's really good in FAQ Nighthawk. I think he's good in all of them. I think unfortunately with Nagash changing to being a general of every army, he does need an FAQ on some rules, because there's like obviously the one in the Nighthaunt where I think it's in one of the hosts that Hex Wraiths on a 2+ can take a mortal wound on like bodyguard for the general.
Okay.
But he's your general, so does he get it?
Counts as a general, doesn't he?
But is that an allegiance ability? It's not allegiance ability that targets him. It's an allegiance ability that targets the Hex Wraiths.
Yeah.
I think his summoning mechanic is the questionable thing, as I've mentioned in our chat. What does it mean? Like, I know how maths works, but the problem is that all the sentences are worded badly. That it's like the Harvester one we were talking about, where the Harvester on a 4+ adds a model back, but obviously he adds 2 models. But if he doesn't roll the 4+, he technically still gets a model, because the effect of returning a model still there is just 0.
Yeah.
Because that's how it's worded. And
well, in Muster, if I'm playing spamming,
Muster's the funniest one.
I'm spamming flayers. I've got my Vargulf, and I'm going to throw 1 dice into each unit of flayers. And it don't matter if I don't pass any.
You don't do it that way.
Getting 1 back to every single.
You don't do it that way. You roll all the dice, and then you pick where the dice goes.
Don't you? Yeah.
Which is even better, because then you're like, all right, that can't affect that. So that dice was a 1. I'm just going to re-roll it, because I don't need, because the unit's only lost 1 ghoul. I'll just re-roll it. It's a 5. I'll now add a flare to this unit. Things like that. It's crazy. Bonkers.
I just thought about you're putting a dice into each unit, and you're getting an additional flare for each unit you're putting it into, which just seemed a bit bonkers. But I don't know.
I know it's returning slain models, so it is. You're quite. if somebody takes off that 9-man unit, all of a sudden
Oh
that's it gone. But because Flesh Eater Courts also summon from heroes quite comfortably anyway, they're just going, oh yeah, I'll just summon else. The same with Nighthaunt. Nighthaunt are crazy with it. There's the list with a Hex Race with him, where he just, as long as you don't kill the unit of 10 Hex Race, he just doesn't die, because he just returns models to them every turn. But also, if you take Life Swarm, or the general gets to add D3, I think it's D3 Hex Race back on, or 1. So you're just adding 2 Hex Race every time.
Yeah.
And Life Swarm heals you. So you roll a 5 or 6, that's 1. And then you return an extra 1. It then moves at the end of that hero phase. You then add an extra. You add 1 anyway, because 0 plus 1 is still 1. That's how maths works.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's got his own ability to shoot. Was it 5 units? He goes, oh yeah, you all get this extra save.
There's no range on that. It's just 5, and he just brings back.
Or as your Hex Race now, you're like, all right, they get to pass on wounds on a 2+, and then I don't know what their bodyguard rule is. I don't know if they get a ward save or not. Some of them do, some don't.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, you've got a unit of 10 Hex Race here with a 5-up ward in the combat phase, because that's tanky. 4-up, 5-up. Or as the other list I said, the one that was doing well, which was Nagash and 5 units of Blood Knights, still does really well now, because they're all of a sudden harder to kill. And they now, once per game, obviously you've got that bubble of the +1 to their ward anyway. So now they're going to be on a 4-up, because there's no rules on adding modifiers to.
It's not just you can stack it.
Yeah.
So a few of the other god characters have had a bit of a boon as well. They've got the full law access, haven't they, Marathi? And did Alariel?
Yeah, she got altered that it doesn't work in Cities of Sigmar anymore. So that was obviously the big gameplay, was Alariel in the Living City, because that was winning all events all over the world. You know, I do understand that. I do understand that's a good design mechanic to remove issues further down the line. So if obviously you know for a fact there's a new Cities book coming, just by the way it's going. So obviously they've maybe seen something playtesting that new book that they go, oh, Alariel's now broken in Living Cities because she has access to the Sylvaneth lore, because also she's also got this entire Cities lore here, for example. It stops that then being a thing where they're doing it now rather than afterwards, when people have then bought a Cities book, bought an Alariel, and
so she only. So what is it that happens then? Because I've not read hers then. So does she only get the Sylvaneth lore if she's in a Sylvaneth army?
Yeah.
Nagash does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Otherwise, Nagash would have been amazing if he knew the lores of all of them at the same time, because he'd be sitting with 30 odd spells. He would actually beat Teclis for the amount of spells he knows.
Take too long. I remember it was like when we used to have the realm spells, where you'd have all of Nagash's spells, then you'd have the 6 realm spells.
I think the worst problem was when he used to know all Death Wizard spells,
and
then he would just go, yeah, and you would just check your opponent's army. You'd be like, oh, your Flesh Eater Courts, yeah, that run and charge spell, that's pretty good. That spell's pretty good. I'll take those 2. And
yeah. So there's been a few changes. I think, yeah, there was a bit of dummies spat out across the board because points changes weren't as robust as people wanted. On my the battle report that we had on last week, which had Nagash on, pretty split. You've obviously got the people go to watch the new Nurgle, and then people go to watch new Nagash. And so the Nurgle people, because I hand-dusted Eric's Great Unclean one off, you can imagine the rage. So you get the rage from the Nurgle players who were there, who were saying, he's busted, putting it through the portal's just boring. Why would you even do that? It's not fair. It's not fun. And then you've got the Nagash fans who are saying, holy shit now, because now he can't do this, he can't do that, and do the other. So there's a real polar sort of.
As we've said before, I think if you took that to him having to be in combat range rather than 3 inches, as the spell's worded, he would be dropping 200 points because all of a sudden he's not be able to 21 inches across the board go and taking off the table.
There are ways to stop it though.
Mm.
Like in that situation, I mean, Eric was playing with it for the first time, but if I was running that and he had Nagash, I'd have had that unit of 20
blocking him, yeah.
Plague Wearers just screaming him, bubble wrapping him so that the portal couldn't get anywhere near him till you got in a good enough position.
I've not watched that game yet, but the same idea. You could cat and mouse it. You put your Great Unclean one right at the other end of the board. If Nagash wants to go chase that, he's wasting himself because it's something that's only worth half his points. Because technically, Nagash with Portal is what, 1,020?
Yeah, he's 930 now, is he? Is he 935 now or something?
935, yeah. So it's what, 1,005 points. So he's chasing something that's half his points.
Yeah.
But if he also fails that, I'm not how you do it. Do you roll a die? Do you roll the 4 up, or do you pick the dice? If he picks the right hand, all of a sudden you've wasted a turn setting up something that you could have put a debuff on instead. That could be more.
It was hero mission, so everybody had to go to the middle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was having a push. I think it was the hero mission anyway. Yeah, but no, it was good. But there is definitely opposed views. A lot of the Nagash players are feeling that he's lost a lot. I think things have just changed on how you play him.
I don't think he plays that much different. He is not. He's more vulnerable now to excessive combat. Like he's not a one-up rerolling ones anymore. So he's lost that ability. He's lost that ability of the list you were playing with him, Neferata, and things like that were doing that. But example, you can still play with Neferata. You can still be immune to Rend. So you can still be on a 2-up immune to Rend, which is still really good. He doesn't get the 6-up after save.
You can only do it on a Legion of Soulblight Gravelords unit. I don't think he gets it.
Did they remove the keyword section? Yeah.
He's now just got Deathlord. It's the same with Manfred. Can't give him +1 to hit and wound.
But I think
there are a few little changes, but I think it's just because people were in the habit of playing him a certain way. And
I think he's great in, like you say, he's good in FEC. He makes FEC play different, which is good. It's no longer 4 dragons or 18 flayers and things like that. It's making them, if you want to play him in there, you're changing the way the list is. It's a bit more glass, I think, and fragile to someone that can alpha it and take it. But that's just the game you're in.
I've got some ghouls built because my FEC list is just, I've got a Terrorgeist and 2 dragons and then 18 flayers.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely working on some ghouls at the moment just to give me some options, and we'll see. I will play him later in the year.
I think like if you're like you say, if you're a deaf player and you have access to all the armies and you have access to all the units, he allows little units to kick into the game that all of a sudden become really different. Like I was thinking list with him that it's a way of him like spamming units. There is in Nighthaunt, you can get him in plus still 10 other units, I think, comfortably. Yeah. And it's just little 4-man units of things that they just block up the board. You're just trying to roll 10 pluses or attack twice and things like that. You block up the board. There's armies that have been able to do that before.
I think that the Black Knights are worth a look again. I always thought good.
Hopefully that points drop again.
Having been 100 points now. Definitely.
There's now a big enough difference between them and Blood Knights. I think that's my like you say, they're now different enough for Blood Knights. I think they could still drop. I think they could still be like 95 points. I still think they're maybe a bit on the hefty side just due to the way the summoning works.
I think that bringing them back is the good thing though, because you bring him back 3. It seems pretty good. They're so fast. They just add something to a Gravelords list that they do lack a little bit.
The wolves, the dogs aren't as good as they were because obviously they're in 10s now instead of 5s, which forces the points and cost increase on them. Like you say, Black Knights are also, that's a lot of units because you're going to have
I had
like a Nagash list. You could have him in 8 units plus a hero.
Well, last game I had Nagash, 2 20s of skeletons, 10 dire wolves, 5 black knights, a white king, and a necromancer. So it wasn't, you've got some good board coverage there.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your 2 blocks of 20, then you've got your dogs and your 5 knights to do a bit of speed and a bit of objective grabbing. The White King does a job. It's not great, but
is that the foot one or the steed?
The steed. So I had him with the knights.
Yeah, the steed. The steed's normally there for the command trait, because the idea of that his base is bigger, he gives a bubble better to a lot of the command traits.
Right, it's fast as well. Order Bones is useful, because I had Graveguard there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I had, yeah.
Again, I think Graveguard are great. They just struggle to get into combat. They're just not fast enough. And you deep strike 9 away, you fail that 9-inch charge, all of a sudden you're going to get taken off before you get to hit sign.
Yeah, once you've committed to where they're going to be. I think when you go with the big units, it's so key to get right where they're coming out. And if you can tease them out somewhere with a bit of bait, you pretty much, they're out of the game after they've killed whatever it is they're going to. But yeah, no, I think it's an interesting place. Looking at Nurgle then, yeah, I was surprised, first of all, by the big points increases. Because there were a few. And when I actually got them on the table, still quite a lot of models on the table once you put them down, and they don't die fast at all.
I think they still do to the right matchups. I think there's still certain things that can take them off, unfortunately, quite fast. It's also because they do nothing in return. I think that's more what annoys me now. It's the disease mechanic, as I've mentioned before. I'd quite like it if the mortal wounds done from it couldn't be ignored, because then I think they would have some stay. But I hate how, like example, that would be a gatekeeper effect on Marathi, because if she couldn't ignore wounds, so if she goes up to 7 and say she took 7, all of a sudden big Marathi's down to 5 wounds. Yeah, I mean, if she couldn't ignore them or they were thrown off, things like that, existing in the game would be a lot better, I think. But also, I found it strange that Legions of the First Prince weren't changed in the FAQ, but I'm assuming it'll be coming in the Nurgle FAQ to how they summon, because obviously they summon 10 Plague Bearers right now a turn, quite comfortably 3 times a game, and that's obviously now 20 wounds. Are they still going to continue to be able to do that or not? The Great Unclean One example, it's quite funny. Legion First Prince does it again. Great Unclean One with the Nurglings having the 4-foul blade, 15 attacks on 5s and 6s, doing D3 mortal wounds per attack. Excellent.
Yeah.
Will it become a mount so it doesn't get the access to the item? Maybe.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much your damage dealer. Well, the drones are not bad. There's some weight of attacks in there.
It's still just paper attacks. So like there's, I think the lack of access to doing either mortal wound damage or having rend is still such a detriment to a game now that is based on good armor saves or only cares about taking mortal wounds. Will the heroic interaction of healing D3 a turn not being able to be done in combat, that could maybe change it for Nurgle, because that means obviously you're not just going to heal D3 of your contagion points a turn, which is what I like. As I said to you as well, the no wheel control, I find that
it's pretty
a
big.
lot of downside.
Thought that even if it was just a command ability, so you can move it one space either direction, or I mean a command trait, not an ability.
Yeah, I think a command ability that can be used once per game. You can turn the wheel to any place you want it to be, or also you have a character like Epidemius. Instead of giving rerolls, if you had the ability to make it that you change the direction the wheel went, so instead of going forward, it goes back anti-clockwise, for example, could be quite cool if that was a once per game change for him. So like obviously you have a turn of this effect, then you go back. So you have the ward save for Nurgle heroes. You go to the next one, and then turn 3, you want it to go back to the ward save, for example. But like you said,
spending contagion points to be able to manipulate the wheel might be a way of using them. That
I also find it quite funny that they shorthand contagion points to CP, which is also command points in this game.
First game, yeah.
Yeah.
I got it wrong. One of the things on the wheel where you roll for the turn.
Yeah.
For each hero, and if you roll
a 4-up
turn number or whatever it is, you roll the amount of dice, whatever it is.
I think roll dice for every model, every hero, and then for every dice it's equal to or higher than the turn roll or battle round.
I thought it was command points. I was like, but no, it's contagion.
But also, what would you spend the command points on? Because they're just isn't
they don't have the scroll anymore. All the command abilities are gone off the scrolls. Well, out of the demons that I've got.
Yeah. Even the mortals don't have much. Even the mortals lost most of them. Glotkin is kind of the only one. Well, Glotkin is the only one with his charging your opponent's hero phase, which makes no sense to me. It makes sense as the idea you're going to put contagion on your opponent in their turn, but if you're against an army that likes combat, they're just going to.
What do you think about Epidemius's diseases that he generates? Do you think? I mean, we've played it now a couple of times, and I've always got all 7 on 2 turns. Now, surely that should be that each hero phase you roll that, and then until your next hero phase you get to spend those rerolls. Not a once a game thing, is it? Where you work, it's so poorly worded that it sounds like you get to roll them. Once you're up to 7, you're up to 7, and once you've spent them, you've spent them.
Yeah. It's kind of like Destiny dice, but not Destiny dice. It kind of feels like that weird. I still would have preferred him to have a table that is based on the amount of disease points that's on the table. But I would have also liked it that disease points was what you spent to summon. So you could either decide to do damage to your opponent or summon. But you'd still be capped at summoning. And you could also only empty. That's what I also think. Because again, some of the things are worded that where Maleficent Wonder is, where Plague Bearers count as 2 units for disease points. That's obviously just
one of the command traits is that you count as 2. One of the boons, is count as 2 for the purpose of disease, but it says if you're within range of any.
Yeah, it should be per unit. I think it should have been per unit because I think it would have been. It's still not that strong. It's stopped
being too strong, and people are like, "Oh no, you shouldn't do that." But the thing is, you get so many attacks going in. Like you play drones get up to the 7 in a round of combat and stuff. No worries, because there's so many attacks going in.
Yeah.
And even if they're not doing the damage, they're still putting the disease on. I think.
So was it? Is it combat phase and
a movement
phase? So if you're in combat, that's 1. If you're in movement, if you're in combat in the movement phase, you're 1. Combat phase, that's 2.
Yeah, and
if you then roll 30 dice averagely, that's 5. That's without any of the Great Unclean One and all that doing their effects.
We really haven't struggled getting the 7 on. And it's like the Great Unclean One, the amount of attacks he's putting in. I mean, that's another one.
He's supposed to 24 attacks now, I think, is it? Or something?
Really? And the 3 Blight drones puts in 21 shots, and then it does 25 melee attacks.
Yeah.
So you're soon up to 7. Surely you should be able to use. I think it should be 1 per 3. But the kickback we got on that one was the same. It was a lot of people saying, well, it clearly says any, and that's just from an early version. But it's like, well, we don't definitely know that unless you've got the rule.
If an early version went to print and they didn't FAQ it day 1 to be what they intended, that's just poor business, isn't it? That's like you saying pre-order this game and get this day 1 release, which is on, by the way, the 15th of July. And then the 15th of July comes and you try and download it and it's not there, and they go, oh, by the way, it's delayed for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
because that's what they're doing to you there with a 2-week or 4-week delay of an FAQ. You're not getting the book at its intention.
I think it's easy enough to get to the cap of 7 anyway, regardless. So I do think that it makes more sense just from playing a few games now that you get 1 per unit. It's not OP because 7's 7. You're never going to go over 7.
No. You can't do anything else with them. Like I said, fair enough if Epidemius had his old table where it was on 21 plus points on the table or something, because obviously it used to be damage caused by Nurgle. But what would that be? What, a 4-up save and a
roll hits, re-roll wounds, or whatever.
Yeah. That's nothing, is it? Like, now it would just be like plus, because again, Plague Bearers fall over now because 6 up armor. That's what I'm saying. If something goes straight for your armor, like again, example, you'll have to play against it. You'll have to play against Sigvald.
Oh yeah.
See how much damage he does, because he's just going to delete them, which makes sense because he's an anti to Nurgle. This book makes me wonder what they're going to do with Khorne.
Well,
because this book's very different. This book fits 2 Great Unclean Ones at best on the table, while Khorne are running around with 5 Bloodthirsters.
Oh, Bloodthirsters need to be a lot better, but a lot more points, I think.
I think if you gave them the Kragnos Rage, where they do damage when they take damage per phase, would be good. But they also got the 2 dangers to ignore or something kind of effect, where if they take damage, they move 3 inches, or D3 or D6, whatever you want to go for. D6 might be a bit fast because you roll that lucky, and they move towards the closest enemy unit because they're filled with rage, sort of thing, like Frenzy.
Yeah, no,
would be quite good.
Yeah, I'd like to see them better. I'd like to see them fall out of the sky as well and do sort of like boom damage when they land.
Yeah. Bloodthirster should be able to deep strike. I don't understand why they're not. I don't understand why not a lot of the greater demons can't.
8 inches away, because 8's corny. And do mortal wounds to everything within.
It doesn't matter for them, because they'd be on a 9, but they get +1 to their charge, so they only have to roll an 8.
Yeah. But I'd like to see it. I would like them to be better. We do need some things. We need Scarbrand so that fucking Carnage attack or whatever it is, the one that you roll
the 16 mortals.
On it does 8, and on a 6 it does 16. And if you've got a Blood Secretor, you're getting 2 attacks. Then if you got a you're getting...
their book will definitely fix that. Mortals don't affect demons.
It can keep it maybe, but I think it should just say
that should be it shouldn't be an attack. It should be see below
paragraph, just an effect, and it shouldn't be a. But me and Eric discuss it quite often because he loves them. Got very little going for him at the moment. So
also, but he does for now with Archaon. Be My Will is
it
affects all chaos now. So when they get a fight when they die, but obviously that's quite an expensive cost between Archaon and Scarbrand. But definitely now that Archaon isn't affected by your Khorne allegiance, which is, in my opinion, the best thing they did this edition. This FAQ. Making it these Grand War Masters aren't affected by the allegiance of armies they actually aren't a part of is a brilliant point of view to do. The sad thing is that cities of Sigmar and Stormcast still get to do good coalition effects, while Chaos have seemed to have been detrimented by it.
But I think when we get the new book, there is going to be a Dawnbringer's Crusade book or whatever it's called. Is it Dawnbringer Crusade?
Dawnbringer's Crusades. I think that'll be the new city or whatever they will. Well, Excelsior will be the big city, I think, for this edition.
Maybe at that point they'll.
But again, it's still in the Stormcast books. Stormcast book still, if you're Stormkeep, you get 1 in 4. Your units can be a city's unit.
Yeah.
Would you take it? No, because Stormcast units are better than cities for their own book. I don't think there's anything I would take. Maybe a Frostheart Phoenix if you wanted to take something, but at that point you would just take a Draconif leader instead, I would say.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the new dragons?
I think they're fine.
Yeah.
Slightly overpointed. Slightly underpointed, but I think the problem is just how aggressive the Stormcast book tries to be with like everything. Like they have the ability to move in the hero phase once per game, so they get a 10-inch move turn 1 in the hero phase. They can then, if your leader is around you and you're wholly within 9 or 12 of him, he lets them shoot in the hero phase once per game. So obviously that's normally 4 storm breaths if you're doing it. So it's average like 1 2 is nothing, 3 to 4 is D3, 5 6 is D6. So you're averaging 2D3 plus a D6 if you want to do averages of it. And that's then like averaging out at what, 7.5 mortal wounds. And then you're going to go to your movement phase and move 10 inches, and then you're going to shoot again.
Yeah.
But they also get quite a lot of attacks in combat. And all the Storm hosts, I think all the Storm hosts are good for them. Each Storm host has its own thing that makes them great. And also, the Stormcast book is probably good because the Storm hosts no longer lock you into items or command traits. So you can kind of go and make your list a bit more narrative or have a slight narrative at all.
Yeah.
I think the big dragons might be a bit too expensive. They feel quite expensive for 600 points.
Yeah, I've not played them yet. I'll tell you when I've played them. It'll be interesting to see. So we've got a store league at the Tabletop Minis, haven't we?
Yeah.
That's starting in January. Now we are fixed. It starts at 2,000 points, and it's just 3 months. I was hoping for 4, so I could play, because you can change your list each month, and you have 2 games.
And you're going to play each Grand Alliance, I'm assuming.
I was going to, yeah. But with it only being 3, I don't know now. So we've.
I suppose it matters if you're winning, doesn't it? If you're winning season 1, you'll keep the filth going.
Winning. I'm taking the Drogs.
That's a good army. It's a nice army.
And I got a bit of an upgrade from the last time I took them out, because
points have dropped again.
Reduction.
Yeah.
Means that.
Do you think that was necessary? Actually, talking of.
I think they need a bit of a book update. They need more than a 10-point reduction on one model.
I think the battle tome is a problem. I think if get rid of the moon and that narrative side, it's the same idea I was saying. Like, you've got to think like your Gloomspite's Git's book has something based in your points somewhere. There must be a calculation of it based in your points. But if someone destroys your scenery piece, you all of a sudden can't summon anymore.
Because it's so big.
Yeah.
You can't screen it off and stop somebody getting within 3 inches of it. All they have to do is run one monster over.
Ragnos only has to get within 6. That's what his effect is when he gets the end of Empires. He looks so good now. I love that. Like, I was talking to Grant about Nagash, like absolute janky Nagash lists that just break the summoning system that he's got. But then there's other lists, like you say, what is it? Kragnos, 3 cows and some Wormfang. How awesome is that as an army? Or your list where it's like Kragnos and then was it 21 trolls or something?
It's quite a lot of trolls. Yeah. I think he'll be good. He'll be good for a while. But he needed it because he was a bit overwhelming.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think he's good, Phil. He is in a really good place because I think if you rely on magic to do your damage, for example, you just can't touch him. I've played against it, and I was playing like Legions of First Prince, so I had quite a lot of debuffing magic. You just can't touch him. You just kind of have to either ignore him. Again, I put like 5 combat units into him. I had Be'lakor, an Epitome with the Fourfold Blade, Kairos, a Spawn, and then like a unit pink colors, and I just couldn't get through him. He just tanks so much damage because he's on a 2-up save. He's able to make himself once per game +1 straight away from the Finest Hour alone.
Yeah, he's good. It'll be interesting to see. I hope he does well. I do, because I think Destruction need some big, scary, smash everything up characters.
He's also on like at the point you have to kill him because he counts as 30 models on objectives now. You can't just ignore him anymore.
No, he's going to be a big distraction. So I'll say what my list is first. So what I've managed to change out is now I don't have to have a Madcap Shaman. I can now get a Fungoid in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big upgrade in itself. Getting the little ward save on him. And I really like as well. We haven't touched on this from the FAQ that the Amulet of Destiny is now not as good as it was. So it's not an auto take anymore.
So you're just taking the second auto take item. Is that what you?
Yeah, I'm taking the second one because the app doesn't let me take any of the Trog ones.
Do you think that's me and Grant talk about it a lot?
Actually, I think I've not took it. I think on the list I submitted, I did take the Glowy Howser instead, which is the one, which gives him it's crap. It's so crap. It gives you a 4-up ward. It gives you a 4-up save against wounds and mortal wounds. But if you roll a 1, he eats it. So it's gone.
That's exactly how the Amulet of Destiny should have been.
Yeah. If you'd have rolled a 1, it broke, and that was
That's
the end.
it. A 2-up until you fail 1 and then it breaks.
Yeah, well, the troll ones are 4-up until you roll a 1, which is annoying because you've got to roll everything 1 at a time.
Separate, yeah.
But the other one was that I was going to take Manticore Venom. So it's 3s and 3s, like all the Trogs are 3s and 3s. The Sloggoth's in there to make them 2s and 3s. The Manticore Venom makes him 2s and 2s. But in the end, I decided I didn't want him in combat because he's the one who gives +2 bravery to all the Trogs. Plus, he gives the reroll ones to hit to all the Trogs.
Yeah.
So the last thing you want is him dying. So he's got the glowy house and he's just going to sit at the back. And so the break boss is going to do the work of hitting. So I've got 2 6s of Rock Guts, 2 3s of Rock Guts, a 9 Fellwater, a Breaker Boss, a Fungoid Cave Shaman, and the Dank Hold. It's 2 drops.
1 drop too many, isn't it?
Well, that's it.
That's what I'm saying. That's a faction, for example. If that faction was able to 1 drop that list, you can just go, you can take turn 1, they move forward, and then you go, cool, I'm on for a double. Yeah,
it's just too many units to fit into the battalion.
Could you do it with Craggy? If you dropped, because you're dropping a bit for Craggy.
Monster. Yeah. So I probably could. Because none of them are.
Well, he would take your 10 wound. He would take your commander spot because he's over 10 wounds and he's a hero.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look at it. It probably could because I'd have to drop some bits, but I'm not going to paint Craggy. I've got too much other stuff on the table. But yeah, that's what I'm taking for month 1. It's fun.
What's your grand strategy? I'm assuming hold the battle line.
Yeah, because everything's battle line.
Yeah.
Yeah, except for the characters and the Sloggoth. So yeah, it's pretty easy to keep something alive. So what have you gone with?
I went for Stormcast Eternals again. Yeah, my 3rd time playing them now. So I'm Celestial Vindicators, which is on the turn you charge until your next hero phase. If you roll 6s to hit, it's 2 hits, which is just brilliant. Because obviously it also means if you go turn 1 in that charge, and then it's your opponent's turn, you still get it on their next turn. You get it until your next hero phase. So if you get that in double turn, you're getting so much extra value out of that effect. I've got a Knight Draconis as my general, who is the hero small dragon.
I know where this is going.
He has... and then I've got a Knight of Canter, a Lord Relictor with the Translocation.
Yeah.
4 Stormdrake Guard, 2 units of 5 Vindicators, and 6 Longstrike Vanguard.
Yeah, that should be good fun.
It's what it was to me as well, as it's 23 models.
Yeah.
I mean, I can get that done in a day or 2 quite comfortably. It's just building it. It's waiting for it to arrive is the current...
well, it's Christmas post, and then if it doesn't come tomorrow, it's not going to come until next Wednesday, is it?
Yeah, a lot of it's saying it'll be next Wednesday or something, but I don't mind losing the points, like first game of the month or something. You make it up in the wins, it's but yeah, it's talking of having fast games as well as it, like it's a fast army to play with. This is more of a painting project as well, so that's the aim for it. Like I'm gonna up my own standard as well. Definitely more than my last one.
I think your last one. I didn't mind it at all.
I do.
It's worth mentioning. Like it was all like
monochrome. It was complete. Yeah. So monochrome. So just black and whites.
But it wasn't just the standard models either, though. You've really themed it. Yeah,
I can get some pictures taken of it, and you can post them up on the feed for the this one. But yeah, so like my tech list was based off of Tamriel. Tamriel. That's gonna bug me. I forgot her name. Tam Van Drake, from the Nagash Age of Sigmar book, the rise of him when he came back to power after being slain or kinged by Archaon. So it's she's my Teclis, and she's converted from the Recreate model with Neferata's head on a Terrorgeist that's blind, which is used as the bat inside the moon, which is from that book as well. That inside the moon on the realm of Shaiish, there's this great bat-like creature that feeds upon souls. All my wardens were based off of the new skeleton range. All my archers were 3D printed skeletons, bows. And then my Kaflar was a Mistweaver Sai, which is a model I still love, but doesn't get played or used because I don't think it's even legal anymore. Unfortunately, it was her converted to have half a skull sort of thing, so she's half alive, half dead sort of thing. It's kind of based off just the Realm of Death. This army will also be themed on Realm of Death. There's a couple of some stuff to come. I'll definitely send them across to you straight up before. Obviously, you might not see them if you don't play the Semi-Kendisma, but this army is very death themed again.
That's like it should be. We do like the death. But we've got quite a few in the league, though.
I think we're up to 16 now. I can just open up the chat for it.
I was just saying earlier that the only weekend I can get down to Aberdeen, because everybody's from Aberdeen, so they're all going to be quite flexible with when they can play. It's a great store. And Riath, who runs the place, he has a Tabletop Minis, and he has a YouTube that it's not add-on really.
He's not done much with that side.
But when I first started, at the beginning of Age of Sigmar, when we converted across, it was one of the things that got me into doing battle reports myself. It was one of the ones that I really watched constantly. So he did some pretty good reports.
We're at 21 players.
21.
21, it's a good number.
Oh, yeah.
You don't know how long that'll last, obviously, month to month, but hopefully that continues or it grows even further. There's quite a few of the local scene. There's Mark Shields. I don't know if you remember him. He used to play 8th edition. He used to play Seraphon. He had a beautiful demon mixed army. It's his Great Unclean one that was in the chat for it today.
Yeah, all that, yeah.
He's a magnificent painter as well. But I think this is his return to the fantasy side sort of thing, because he used to play 8th edition. I don't think he's really played Age of Sigmar at all. And you've got some of the local Aberdeen ones, like you say. You've got Grant, Jamie McHugh, John Bayliss, myself, and Rias.
He's in it as well.
Kev's not in it, no. He's not playing this one, unfortunately. But yeah, hopefully maybe get another one or two people. If not, they can always jump in later in the league. If there's anyone actually that even listens to this that's local to Aberdeenshire, even if you're local to Stu, who's a couple of 100 miles away.
Well, I mean, the way I see it is I can come down on a Friday night boat overnight. I can play my games Saturday and Sunday, and then come back on the Sunday afternoon boat. I don't have to take any time off work.
Yeah. Get yourself a couple of films in on the one on the Friday night, one on the Saturday night that takes ages to get to you as well, and
you're
sorted.
I'll be up for it.
Drinks.
Well, I don't drink in January at least. Don't know.
We'll get you some soda pops.
But no, I'm looking forward to it. Unfortunately, nobody from Orkney can make it.
Mm-hmm.
But Inverness and Caithness and, even down as far as Dundee, it's not far to drive.
No.
It's only an hour or so from
if
Dundee.
It's also your games for the month, like you say, if you come down on Saturday and get both your games in, that's...
Yeah, you can do it in one day. There's no reason that you need to do it over two.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've got quite a bit of work again in February, March down in Aberdeenshire, so I'll be spending quite a bit of time down there. So I'll
beautiful area, isn't it? Just
can't stay away.
That's it.
Well, I'll get some. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, same. As like I said, you'll see the hobby project side of it. Just quite over the top as usual me sort of thing. It's
good. I just don't play you.
Game one, that'll be.
Yeah, I'll have you and Grant. That's okay, actually. I don't mind. Or you and John Bayliss. I think it'll be good fun. And we've got Tempest as well in January, haven't we?
Yeah, usually I pulled out of that just clear hobby funds for buying stuff, and
that's fair. So that's
the 15th.
Yeah.
That weekend.
Yeah, halfway through. Hopefully, again, COVID permitting, depending on how things go.
I think as much as it is, I think you're looking okay for Scotland to.
Yeah, hopefully.
I think the numbers aren't rising as fast here as what England are getting, but
keeping the 1 meter distance in. That is, Steve's putting keeping the numbers reduced by having just 3 per row rather than 4 still.
Does that mean he's not keeping the 40 people then if he's doing that?
I'm not too sure because he can have the 2 extra rows and the side tables.
Oh, true, yeah.
So I think it should be all right still. But he says there's going to be a meter space at least between
players.
Boards. So yeah, and people I suppose will be masked up. And no spectators at tables. So that's it, maximum of 3 households, but it's only 2-player games, so that's not really going to work. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It'll be nice because I can't go to the Brewdog one in February.
Oh. That'll be the big one.
I am getting to go to the Marvel Crisis Protocol one though, so I've already booked to come down for that one.
I'll be at that one as well. I think that's why I like it. Trying to fit in both MCP events and AOS events is more going half and half is kind of my plan for the year if we continue to be allowed to go to events.
Yeah, I'm bringing the kids down to the Marvel one, so it should be good. I think they'll enjoy it. Yeah, but that's that. But that was short, sweet, and to the point.
That's it. Yeah, just like us.
But no, that'd be good. We'll maybe do something after we've had our first games, and we'll have.
We have a catch up before Tempest or something. If I'm assuming lists will be out, or I don't know what his plans is for that.
Go through the lists for each month and talk through it, and then come give a bit of a recap on our games.
Yeah.
So we'll try and get Riaf on or something to give his shop a plug. But yeah, well, thank you very much for joining us.
So thank you very much. Good to see you all. Good for you all hearing us.
Yeah. God knows if this will work because on my screen I've just got Liam on one half and a black square on the other, so I don't know if I'm working.
Just put a picture of yourself up. Then just get the mouse moving.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that. Have a happy New Year.
Yeah.
And, yeah. We'll see how the Trogs do. Right, I'll get it done. I might even be able to get it up and uploaded today. Who knows? People can listen in while they're waiting for the bells because they won't have anything better to do, surely. Anyway, take care, sir.
Take care.